So, look, the Niners defense right now, through 3 games, they feel elite. Now, I can totally understand people saying, A, it's 3 games in. B, you really haven't played a dynamic offense.
No.
All of those are true statements. But I also believe this to be a really good unit. Having watched them at practice, I thought it was the strength of the team. Having watched them through 3 games, is it the strength of the team? Mm-hmm. Okay. In the last, I'm just going to go the last 20 years for the Niners, because we can go back to the 80s and 90s, but the rules have changed so much, and the league is so pass happy. It's hard to look at some of the scoring and passing numbers and correlate them to the modern game with the freedom of movement that you have.
Back in the day, you didn't have that 5-yard rule where you can't touch a receiver after 5 yards. You can mug a receiver. The way you hit receivers is totally different. The way you hit quarterbacks is totally different. You had chop blocks back in the day, right? Where you could go under a defensive lineman's knees and just cut them out, which was terrible because a lot of guys got injured with that. And Bob McKittrick was getting cursed out by multiple defensive line coaches because of the way the 49ers used to cut blocks. So you want to start from the 2000s, maybe?
Yeah, approximately.
Let's go 2000s.
So I would say in the last 20 years or so, the best 49er defenses, in my mind, all right, and I would love your opinion on this as well. I think you got to start with 2011. Right? That's one of the ones. If we're going in chronological order. 2011, listen to these all-pros. All-pro. Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Justin Smith.
Yeah.
That's on defense alone. Second team, all right, all-pro. Carlos Rogers, and then Justin Smith made it at a second position.
Aldon Smith didn't make all-pro that year?
That was his rookie year. No, he did not.
Even though he had a dynamic. I don't even think he won rookie of the year, did he?
No, I don't think he did either.
Was it Von Miller who won rookie of the year?
It might have been Von Miller. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to go back and look. But I just look at that team. Now, look at Pro Bowlers. Now, I know people scoff at Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, I do.
But I'm... Okay.
By the way, randomly, Pro Bowl's done.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Pro Bowl is done.
We don't need that Alex Smith being the 19th alternate, Pro Bowler, so that people could say, "See, Alex was a Pro Bowler." Is not what I need in my life. But just Pro Bowlers, okay? Justin Smith, Patrick Willis, Rogers, Deshaun Golson. I mean, that's an incredible list. And we remember that 49er defense, 2011, didn't allow a rushing touchdown until the very end of the year. They were an elite defense, similar to this team. And this version of the Niners, they were run first, minimize the amount of possessions. They played a 3-4. They were elite. They were going to hit you. We have team speed.
Right.
I mean, that was a very, very dominant group. And they were 1 or 2 plays away from being in the Super Bowl.
Yep. That was a very good group. Very good group. Probably the best defense of that tenure, no doubt, under Harbaugh and Vic Fangio. They were flying around. The next year, Justin Smith got hurt in that Seattle game, that Patriots game on Sunday Night Football, where he basically tore his biceps? Was it the biceps or the pec?
Yeah.
And then he basically wasn't the same.
But in that 2012 team, which was a really, really good team, I'm not trying to dismiss it. So I'll give you the all-pros, back-to-back years. Patrick Willis first team, Bowman first team, Justin Smith second team, Golston first team, Ahmed Brooks second team, Aldon Smith first team.
Wow.
Now, they were more decorated because of 2011.
Because of 2011.
I think they got more recognition. I lean 2011 was slightly better.
2011, I thought, was them at their peak.
I thought so too.
They didn't have to blitz.
I thought so too.
They were rushing the passer with just that front.
And how it ended?
And how it ended.
They felt like they were leaking oil.
Dude, but 2012 they were leaking oil against the Ravens.
Excuse me. Yeah. How 2012 ended, they were leaking oil.
Yep,
2011 it felt more comprehensive.
They were humming.
Yes.
They were humming.
That's what I'm saying.
And Eli Manning, I mean, he got hit over and over and over and over. And it was a heroic performance for Eli Manning.
One of the all-time great ones.
That game flipped when Terrell Brown got hurt, when Rodgers and was it Golston and Terrell Brown, or was it? I think it was Golston and Terrell Brown. They went up for the interception in that NFC Championship game, and Terrell Brown got hurt. Tremaine Brock comes in, he gives up a touchdown on 3rd down to Mario Manningham to give the Giants a lead there before David Akers kicked that field goal to tie the game and send it to overtime. So, look, man, that defense in 2011 is one of the best defenses probably the last 20 years for the 49ers.
Right.
I think it's better than 2019.
I'm with you. So that brings us to 2019. 2013, Willis hurt himself. Bowman was outstanding that year. I think it was Larry Grant made like 4 or 5 starts.
Larry Grant was good.
Yeah. For the 49ers. And the defense was kind of falling apart. They had traded Golston left in free agency. They traded up to go get Eric Reed. The defense was just very different. But I think 11 and 12 were their best defenses in the last 20 years. And then you get to 2019. Okay, that's Nick Bosa's rookie year. DeForest Buckner has a monster year. Eric Armstead finally breaks out as a pass rusher. And even though he was hurt at times throughout the year, it felt like Dee Ford was elite that year.
Dee Ford was good. Dee Ford was good.
You know, I know we always talk about Aldon Smith, but on those 2011, 2012 teams, Ahmed Brooks
was solid.
I mean,
stout against the run.
Yes.
Solid as a pass rusher. Was a physical beast. Got wrongly accused of personal foul on Drew Brees there, the Superdome. Remember that one?
That was the worst. That put them on the road.
Right, that put them on the road.
In 2013.
Yeah, it put them on the road where they had to play in Carolina, in Green Bay, and, of course, ended up losing in Seattle that season. But no, 2019. So we go to 2019, and we look at the secondary. Jimmy Ward proved a lot of people wrong.
That was a career year for him.
That was a career year for Jimmy Ward, no doubt. Tart played a lot better.
He did.
In that one. And then you had Richard Sherman,
who was an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler that year.
Which is crazy because we thought Sherman was maybe cooked.
Yeah.
Sherman was balling that year, but he leaked oil towards the end of the year.
He did.
NFC Championship and, of course, the Super Bowl. Then you had the linebacking core. We didn't know much about Drake Greenlaw that year. He was a rookie.
And Quan Alexander played and got hurt throughout that year.
Quan was good. And then Drake Greenlaw stepped up and made one of the signature plays in 49ers history in 2019. Heck, he had a couple of them. The first Seattle game, the interception in overtime, where it looked like he was going to bring it back to the house. It was like, wow, who's this Drake Greenlaw guy? Because we were all freaking out about Quan being hurt.
Right.
So Quan was good, but Drake Greenlaw picked up the slack and was the better linebacker towards the end of the year.
He was, absolutely. But I look at that team, and it was led by their front, right, B?
Yep.
Right? Their front was what led them. And Nick Bosa's breakout party as a rookie, it was like, wow, they've got something here. I look at this team right now. This feels on Monday night like their stiffest test in terms of offensive weaponry that they've faced yet.
It is.
Cooper Kupp is the best. He was the Triple Crown winner of wide receivers last year. Catches, yards, touchdowns.
Yep.
And then you're going up against, I would say, a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback and one of the top 5 to 6 offensive minds in the league in Sean McVay.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt he's one of the 5-6 offensive minds in this league. And look, Stafford, he will throw a couple up, but last week he only took 1 sack. 1 sack last week. Did not throw an interception. That gets him into trouble. But if you put pressure on him, he will throw it up, and you can hit him and fluster him and rattle him. Now, remember everybody was freaking out about Cam Akers in week 1, like, oh, wow, Cam Akers is not getting any carries. He led the way last week with 12 carries. 12 carries, 61 yards. So he's starting to run the ball a little bit better. And you still have Cooper Kupp. Allen Robinson, they're trying to figure it out, but he's a threat. And Tyler Higbee, for whatever reason, he's a very underrated tight end. I like Higbee a lot.
So when you're looking at this matchup and you're looking about this 49er defense that they've got right now, again, we both agree. To this point, their biggest test.
Biggest test, no doubt.
I kind of feel like this defense it has the potential, at least early on, to be better than 2019. The key that they have to have, complementary football. If the offense is not going to pull its weight, I don't think this defense will sustain and be better than what they were in 2019. Because part of why they were so great in 2019, they got stops on D, but the offense scored a lot, and it put that team in an opportunity to pin their ears back and go get the quarterback.
I like this defensive line a lot better than 2019. I think they're deeper.
Without Buckner?
I think they're deeper.
Really?
I think they're deeper. Drake Jackson, I think, can have an impact like a D Ford. Ebukam is not bad, so I think you have
his
more
run stuff rate is really good.
Now, you're not as stout in the middle without Buckner and Armstead, so maybe you give a little bit there, but the drop-off's not hard. And also, DJ Jones was a big part of 2019 as well. Don't want to sleep on him.
He was.
But the secondary, I believe, is better now than it was in 2019. I think Ward, at this stage of his career, is better than where Sherman was at.
Hasn't played yet.
Yeah, hasn't played. Or
you're saying the Mooney Ward.
Yeah, Mooney. Mooney Ward. Charvarius Ward is a lot better than where Sherman was at in 2019.
Yeah, he's in his prime. And he can do more things.
Yeah, man-to-man, Sherm was a problem.
And I don't want to take anything away because Sherm did have a great year.
Sherm had a great year. But when teams started attacking him deep, like the second Arizona game, remember they went at Sherman? He got called for a couple pass interferences. It was like, damn, he can't deal with the speed.
Yeah.
Ward can deal with the speed. And then Mosley's a better version than what he was in 2019.
I'm with you there.
Now, Hufanga at strong safety?
Early on, I think he's better than what Tart was in 2019.
Yep, no doubt.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
But he's got to. This is where I struggle with it because we're in real time. We're 3 games in.
We've
got 14 more games.
There's a long way to go, and they see some top flight quarterbacks.
Yes.
I mean, Mahomes is coming. Herbert's coming. Brady's coming. I mean, you see some dudes, all right? You just saw a dude at Russell Wilson, and he burned you on the last possession of the game.
Do you think that Fred Warner is a better version now than when he played in 2019?
Yeah, I do. A lot wiser.
I do,
By the way, he joined Damon Arado, and he said that.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's so good on the air.
Yeah,
We'll play some of those cuts. He's so smooth.
He's a leader. Like, he's
so
a legitimate leader. When you draft a middle linebacker to be the guy who wears the green dot helmet,
right.
Isn't like the way he conducts himself? Isn't that what you're looking for in a player?
He did it from day one too.
He's just he's so wise beyond his years.
Everything they wanted Reuben Foster to be, Fred Warner Jr. has been,
and then some.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's better, way better in pass coverage.
And before we take some calls on this, 888-957-9570. Where's this defense at? Through 3 games in, where do they rank with some of the better Niner defenses in the last 20 years? D'Amico Ryans, do you believe he's got the edge on Robert Saleh in 2019? The version of Robert Saleh in 2019 compared to D'Amico over the last 2 years.
My biggest criticism on Robert Saleh was they played almost the same defense, and it worked for a long time, but it felt like the same thing over and over. They wouldn't blitz a whole lot. The wide 9 did gash them in the run game, especially late in the year.
They've adjusted from the wide 9.
It feels like D'Amico's got more curveballs and more changeups.
Yeah.
But I don't study the film enough to know if we were like doing the percentages of how many times they send a blitz from the nickel and how many times they send linebackers. It feels more versatile with D'Amico Ryans.
Yep.
And I'm just saying that based off my eyeball.
Yeah, no, it does feel a lot. That's why I give the edge to D'Amico. So this defense, so far, it looks like it could be better than 2019.
It has potential.
But we got that big caveat.
But the offense is going to be a big part of this.
Yeah,
2020, they were a really good defense. Even though Nick Bosa went down, the offense couldn't sustain drives, and it put them behind the 8 ball.
They can't. And then you're playing a quarterback this week in Stafford who 4 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions through 3 games. They can get some. That's the one thing this defense has to do to separate itself for 2019.
What's that?
Force turnovers.
Yeah.
Interceptions, which they got in the first couple weeks last week in Denver. You had a couple chances to recover a fumble. Getting turnovers is what's going to separate them for 2019.
The other guy who I think has had really good impact in the few amounts of snaps that he plays, Charles Omenihu is a playmaker.
He's a player.
Every time he's in there, it feels like he's stunting, he's twisting, he's blowing by somebody. He's strong. He's extremely fast and athletic. This defensive line feels deeper. It does, which is crazy to say because Buckner was so good that year.
I mean, they didn't miss Armstead last week.
That's nuts.
They didn't miss Armstead.
It really is nuts.
That is nuts.
And I do feel like the Hufanga and Mooney Ward acquisitions makes this team more dynamic.
They look nastier in the secondary.
They look faster.
They look faster and they look nastier. Now you also talk about Greenlaw. You talk about Bose. Kevin Givens. What about him in the middle of that defense?
I like him. I like him a lot, especially when you're going to rotate defensive line. This is why I don't love paying defensive linemen a lot of money because you can throw a guy out there who's undrafted and can get comparable production.
And don't forget about Kinlaw. Kinlaw's having a nice start to the season.
He is having a nice start. Quietly.
He's having a nice start. Quietly having a nice start to the season. Let's go to...
It's just hard because the Bears are so stinky, even though their record's 2-1.
And the Hawks have Geno Smith.
Are terrible.
And Denver's not there yet.
So I don't know. This feels like the truest test where I'll have a really good feel for how legit this defense is.
Well, this is the first test of many for the Niners.
Oh, no,
Their schedule ramps up.
They get Tom Brady. They get Patrick Mahomes. They're going to get Kyler at some point. They're going to get a variety.
Twice.
I know, but they're going to get a variety of play styles.
Yep.
You're going to get Herbert at some point if he can stay healthy.
And one thing they struggle with, right, is mobile quarterbacks. Good thing about Stafford is he's not mobile. He's going to be in that pocket. You know where he's going to be. And this offensive line is just not good for the Rams. I want to get into that in a second here.
That feels like a big mismatch.
It's a big mismatch coming up on Monday night. But hell, the Niners offensive line. That didn't feel like a mismatch for the Reds, too, on the other side of the ball.
Bonte, remember a couple years ago we did the Aaron Donald bet?
Yeah.
I'm so worried about Aaron Donald against Jake Brendel. I mean, I think he's going to slide over and go up against McKivitz.
Oh, Banks. Pick your poison for Aaron Donald.
This is the week Shanahan needs to earn his money in terms of scheming, whatever it looks like.
Move Jimmy around.
Quick release.
Bootlegs.
Quick. I don't know what it looks like, but I'll tell you this. You got to do something because I'm really worried about Aaron Donald.
All right, we got Fillmore Mike, and it says not the OG. So I'm confused on which Fillmore Mike this is. Fillmore Mike in the city.
What up?
Listen to the Art of Radio.
Yo, what's up, man?
Oh, it's the real Fillmore Mike. Okay, it's the real not the OG Fillmore Mike, the young Fillmore Mike. All right, got it.
Yeah, for real. I don't know who Cuz is, but it's all love. My name is Michael, is a popular name, but hey, man.
Hey, it's Sam Lumpman, Fillmore. Sam Lumpman, man, making a rookie mistake.
No, it's all good. Lubman is a solid guy. Hey, but look, it's crazy how y'all knowledge, like y'all memory is crazy, bro. Like, y'all be remembering, both of y'all, too.
Thank you.
Joe Shasky, Jay Hill. Y'all, because I watch every game, too. I mean, I smoke a lot more weed than y'all. I watch every game, too. And y'all memory is impeccable. I just want to say a couple of things. I think this is one of the best defenses the Niners have ever had. Some of them weak teams in the early 2000s, now they weren't celebrated, but BY had them boys playing hard.
Mm-hmm. Julian Peterson.
Remember this one?
Yep.
Two names. Hey, Bonte, we texted this a couple of weeks ago. Alden Smith could have been one of them boys. One more thing. JP Julian Peterson.
I loved him.
Yep.
He was a star back in the day. He was before he was on that eight positions. He was going crazy, man. I just wanted to say that y'all.
Before you go,
go ahead.
Before you go, when he shut down Tony Gonzalez, that was the game.
That was the
when
game.
Jim Moore Jr. was on the sideline, and everyone was like, "Jim Moore Jr. needs to be the coach of this team." Remember that?
Because he was guarding Tony Gonzalez in the slot by himself, number 98, JP, killing it. And Mike Rumpf was getting picked on that game, and they had to go ahead. They had to help Mike Rumpf with safeties, and then JP, they was like, "You got Tony G," and he had like one catch for 7 yards. And Kansas City was complaining, "Oh, JP got he got away with holding. He got away with holding in that game. He was good.
He was a stud in Madden too.
It was good. Hey, one last point, man. Look how our defense has been so good the last 20 years. Look how many defensive coordinators from the Niners that have gotten hired.
That's a good point.
Triple.
Yeah, Lord Vic Fangio, Robert Saleh. That's actually a really good point.
No,
Jim Moore Jr.
Jim Moore Jr. is three coaches right there.
I'm going to go two
Our
names.
Our poll right now at Morning Roast 95.7. What was the best 49ers defense in the last 20 years? Let us know. 2011, 2012, 2019, and 2022.
I like that. Going to the early 2000s, Julian Peterson, had he played in this era, would be a $40 million player in the sense that he would get he could cover tight ends in space,
and
he could rush the quarterback,
and stop the run.
He was so good.
Remember when he came back from he was a Seahawk.
He tore his Achilles.
But he was a Seahawk. He made a play at Candlestick Park, and he just did the thing where he pointed at the back of his nameplate, and he did it like he put extra emphasis on it.
I got a 98.
90 fans started losing their minds like, fool, screw you, we made you. But he started doing it. He held it too for a long time.
It was him, Ulbrich, Derek Smith as a 3-4.
Yep.
That was such a fun team. And
were they 4-3? Were they 4-3 or 3-4?
They went 3-4.
They went 3-4.
And Jamie
right.
Winborn.
Jamie Winborn was good.
People forget.
He came in training camp and took that job.
I think he got traded to Jacksonville at some point, and he never came back. The other two guys that I think we always forget, and I look back on them, Ahmed Plummer, if he could have stayed healthy, I thought was going to be a really good DB.
His last game was that divisional round loss against the Tampa Bay Bucks.
He was good, dude.
He retired out of nowhere.
Him and Jason
remember?
Webster were solid.
He had a bad injury. He was a first-round pick out of Ohio State. He was that same draft with Julian Peterson. I thought Plummer was very solid. And after a while, Niner fans started saying, "Oh, bum-ass, I'm in Plummer." And I don't remember him being a bum. I remember him saying, "I'm going to take the number one wide receiver." He got the neck.
The neck.
Look, everybody sees that highlight of Randy Moss mossing him in the Metrodome. But that was one of Moss's only catches in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
He did a really good job on Randy Moss. I love Ahmed Plummer. That's a good call there. And Jason Webster. Was he Texas A&M?
Yeah, 36.
Yep.
I mean, they were a solid duo. It was Mike Rump who couldn't stay on the field.
Mike Rump couldn't stay on the field.
They just kept picking on him.
And they had Tony Parrish.
And he had a good number, too.
And they had Zach Bronson. Remember Zach Bronson had 7 picks that one year?
He was part of the Jim Moore Sr., you know?
Yep, he had that pick.
Playoffs.
I'll never forget when the Niners made the playoffs that year with Jim Moore Jr. and Mooch. They lost in Chicago that year at Soldier Field. But they were up big. Shea Matthews killed them in the fourth quarter. But Zach Bronson had a pick 6 that day. It was like for 90+. People know. You'll remember.
Lance Schulter, Zach Bronson.
Dude, they were sick,
so
right?
Many Niner safeties.
I remember he picked it off and went to the house, and there was a Niner fan. I don't know why I remember this. There was a Niner fan with a sign. the Niners are back in Soldier Field, and he had the sign, and he kept waving it up. The Niners are back,
Narrator,
and it was like
the Niners are not back.
The Niners are, and when they made the playoffs that year, they were back then, and then it went sideways once Erickson got the job.
Those early 2000 defenses were
good.
Extremely underrated.
Yep, very underrated.
Extremely
very underrated.
I'm with him on that. And then I'm going to give you a name, and you're going to smile. John Angleberger.
Oh, my God. Virginia Tech. Number 94.
Him? What a bust.
He had the U-bar.
Oh, I couldn't stand
him. He had the U-bar. You didn't like him?
I couldn't stand Angleberger.
He was solid.
He was always like 5 steps too slow on the edge. He was the guy that would bite on the run fake every time.
Oh, my gosh. Well, great defenses. 888-957-9570.
11, 12, 19, or 22. Who are you taking?
It's hard not to take 2011.
That's what I'm saying. And that felt like that first love, too, with Harbaugh.
It's hard not to take them. It's hard. Dante Whitner. That Saints game, because people forget.
When Golson would hit you and then do the hawk. Oh, my God.
He decapitated Michael Clayton for Tampa that year. Remember that?
I do
On the
remember
pick
that.
six. I mean, he blew him up. But the moment in Philadelphia where Justice Smith strips Jeremy Maclin from the back on a wide receiver screen, and they recover it, and the sideline goes crazy like, it's our ball, it's our ball, it's our ball. It made everybody believe.
Was that the game Morgan broke his leg?
That was the Tampa Bay
Joshua
game.
Morgan.
So I remember that game. That was one of the few Niner games I went to that year.
Okay.
I took my little brother, Bernard. Call me, Bernard. It's been a while.
Okay.
They were up 41-3.
Oh, yeah, it was a blowout game.
Blowout game.
Alex actually threw a ball past 20 yards in that game.
Yeah, I know. They were rolling.
Remember that?
They brought in Kaepernick.
Oh.
He threw a touchdown pass at the end of the game. But it was to Josh Morgan when he broke his leg.
Was he Joshua at that time? Because remember he switched his name?
Morgan. Yeah, it was Joshua Morgan.
Yeah. He was
Joshua
nice.
Morgan was not supposed to be in the game. Somebody else was supposed to be in the game, and they were looking for the helmet. So Crabtree and Morgan started fighting. It was like, oh, this is a free touchdown. Stats. And he ran into the game. He wasn't even supposed to be in the game, Shasky. I watched the whole thing. I'll never forget it. I was like, oh, why is Josh Morgan going to? Kind of had a Booby Miles feel to it on Friday Night Lights when he wasn't supposed to be in the game.
Yeah.
And what was it? Kromer couldn't find his helmet, so Booby ran in.
Like Brent Jones with John Taylor in the 88 Super Bowl.
There you go. So Joshua Morgan, man, he was really, really
good. Was he
But
Virginia Tech too?
Joshua Morgan was Virginia Tech.
Dude,
he was
Beamer
Virginia
Ball,
Tech.
he had players, dude.
Beamer Ball, I used them on video games all the time. He had players, dude.
I thought Daryl Tapp was going to be that dude.
He actually was a pass rush coach for the Niners.
Was he?
Matter of fact, he may be on the staff.
I thought Daryl Tapp was going to be that dude.
He may be on the staff now.
Who's the cornerback? D'Angelo Hall?
D'Angelo Hall went to VTech.
Yeah.
He went to VTech. They had another one, too.
Yeah.
They had another one, too. Let's go to Chris in Concord. He's on the radio. He wants to talk about the greatest
what do we think of this
Niner defenses. What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up, guys? So just kind of wanted to chime in on great 49er defenses. And what about that 94-95 defense, man?
Well,
you had Dana Stubblefield.
Yeah.
You had Merton Hanks doing the chicken dance. You had Tim McDonald. You had Deion Sanders on the outside. I mean, dude, Ken Norton, that defense, I mean, sorry, Phil Mike, but this defense this year has nothing.
Well, in Fillmore Mike's defense, we were going last 20 years.
Yeah.
That felt like an all-star team to me. You had Richard Dent coming in.
Yep.
You had Sam Mills playing on that team.
Brian Young was a rookie.
Gary Plummer.
Deion.
Brian Young was Defensive Rookie of the Year that year. Dana Stubblefield, the Defensive Player of the Year, and Deion Sanders, Tyrone Drakeford.
Eric Davis.
I mean, there were so many great players on that team. That defense was all-time.
Yeah.
All-time. Charles Haley.
Chris, you still there?
Yep, I'm still here, man. I totally agree with you guys.
What about the potential of this
Haley
defense? What do you think about this defense?
You know, I'll be completely honest, man. I'm a Dolphins fan, so I'll tell you right now, like, I haven't really been watching the 49ers this year.
I'm curious. What are you guys thinking of Mike McDaniels? Because there's a lot of chatter from Niner fans. We're missing Mike McDaniels. And I feel like now it's kind of jumped the shark. Like, I get it. McDaniels was influential, but let's not pretend like he's, Bill Walsh reincarnated. But how are Dolphin fans feeling about him?
I can tell you right now, as a Dolphins fan, we are stoked. I can tell you that we finally have an offensive-minded coach, and I mean, just look at Tua's numbers right now, and look at what they're doing to the rest of the league. So, everybody should be on notice.
And there it is. Dolphin fans coming out of the woodwork. Thanks for the call, Chris, by the way. Daryl Tapp.
Number 55.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech.
Yep.
One of my favorite defenses in college football history.
Great. He's the assistant defensive line coach for the 49ers.
Is he?
Last year was his first year. I told you he was deep assistant last year.
I loved him.
He's on the staff now.
Well, he was a Falcon? What was he?
So he was a Seahawk, Eagle, Played with Washington, Detroit, the Saints, and the Bucks.
Seahawks.
And the Bucks.
Wow.
Who's drafted by Seattle. Only had 29 career sacks. Second round pick out of VTech.
So if we're asking like the favorite defenses, if you're going to go 2011, I don't think you're wrong there. I would probably, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably taking 2011. But I have to say, 2019,
the defense was good.
It was so good. It was so good. And there was something about Levi Stadium when Sherman would make an interception.
Oh, it popped.
That place, everybody would be shaking their heads. And
we got the pick against Minnesota in the playoffs, and that place went crazy.
And then Bosa, like that team
there was something
really
about
fun.
Sherb. There was something about Sherb.
There was just something fun. Now, I'm probably going to lean 2011, but I don't want to like dismiss 2019 because 2019 was so fun. And I fell back in love with my Niners that year.
So 2019, I did too. And it happened in the Pittsburgh game. Remember that?
I do.
They beat them at home. They held on for dear life and beat Pittsburgh 24-20. That stretch where they had to play Arizona on Halloween. The defense looked tired. Then the overtime game against Seattle. The pick. It was an iconic game. That's when your grandpa had the greatest line ever. You know, guys, I've been to some great wins, and I've seen some brutal losses. And he paused for like 7 seconds. That was a brutal loss.
That was like a 9-hour day for him at
Grandpa
Levi
Shatsky.
That was a long day.
Dude,
I learned my lesson. No primetime games for the 86-year-old.
No more primetime games for him.
I'm taking my wife and niece this Monday.
What game are you going to take Grandpa to?
Oh, we're going to go. We already have it locked in.
Arizona?
We're going to the Chiefs game.
Chiefs game. Oh.
Yeah, he's getting them Mahomes.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, boy. He wants to see Mahomes, huh?
He wanted to go to an opening day. I said, Grant, it's going to be like a downpour. I love you, buddy, but...
All right. But that stretch in 2019, we forget. They had to play Arizona again. They had to come back from 16-0. Mm-hmm. Defense played great in the second half of that one. They had to play Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Oh, that was a good game. In the rain.
They held the Packers to 8 points on Sunday Night Football. Remember that?
That's one of those few times where you lose and feel proud of your team.
Yeah, you felt good after the Baltimore game. And then they gave up the 46 to the Saints, and it was like, all right, that was the stinker for the defense. Then they had to play the Falcons. They played the Rams. Defense started leaking oil towards the end of that season. Remember that? They gave up 29 points to the Falcons. Now, it happened on that last play of the game where if you were a bettor, you got pissed off about that. But that was the Julio Jones game when he just dominated and Sherman didn't play. So that's where I lean 2011 because they were more consistent throughout the season. More consistent. They didn't falter down the stretch like 2019 did.
Well, and I also feel like the lasting image of 2019 is Quan dropping a pick, third and whatever, where they threw it down.
15,
yeah, I mean,
Mosley.
come on. You know, like there's a lot. And then like Sherman getting burned.
You're right.
You know, like, but don't let that, like, don't forget how great they were throughout the totality of the year. And let's not forget, that was one of the most explosive offenses the league has ever seen. Yeah. And they suffocated them until the end. I know they look, the dam broke. And it was a huge flood. And I'm not trying to be mean with all the stuff going on in Florida, so I probably shouldn't use that analogy. But my point being is, like, that was a great defense. And I know it ended in an ugly way, but it doesn't take away from how much I loved watching them play.
And that defense, the goal line stand at the end of the game against Seattle. Remember that? Yes. That goal line stand out for sure. We all thought, we watched that game right here.
Incredible.
We said, damn, they're going to blow home field advantage just like that.
I know.
They are number one all year. They're going to blow home field advantage.
We're going to go back to the Julio Jones play the week before where they lost on the final play of the game.
Because I remember Danny Fry telling me, this game isn't important. I was like, damn it, the Falcons game is important.
Didn't Steiny say that too?
Yeah, he did. He apologized to me that day. Remember, he was like...
He's coming down my road last night on Twitter.
Was he?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, there was a guy on the Giants who was wearing number 18, and all I said was there are certain numbers in sports for certain organizations that if you're not going to retire, because that's Matt Cain's number, if you're not going to retire it for Matt Cain, which is fine. I don't even know if I'm 100% on Matt Cain having his number retired. I can go in both directions on that. It should be reserved for someone who I believe has a little more impact on the franchise long term. For example, 22. It wasn't retired for years and years and years for the Giants, and they would hand it out to like Dan Ugla. And it's like Dan Ugla does not deserve. The guy was DFA'd in Florida and in Atlanta, and you came here on like a prove it deal, and you gave him 22. Like, can we read the room a little? It's like 81 with the Niners. You're not going to retire T.O.'s number,
but you give it to Trent Taylor.
Yeah. Or Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, that's weak. That's weak. So Steiny came down your road.
Oh yeah, he's like, well, then you should start issuing 3-digit numbers then.
You and Steiny are like best buds, though. You guys are BFFs.
I love Steiny.
Yeah, you guys are BFFs.
I listen to that show every day.
No, this isn't a knockoff jersey. This is 503 Sports. 503 Sports. Relax over there, Chris Hansen.